Do you stop to look at nature and really bend down, pick up a leaf, look at the bugs, inspect wildlife, and try to understand the inner workings and the connections, the symbiosis between organisms? In fact, the word symbiosis was created and coined for describing lichens, which lichens are a symbiotic relationship between a fungus and an algae, and sometimes including other yeasts and other organisms in there. When they find organisms working in unison for the better of both, it's symbiosis. So my question, I guess, is what do you, the people that I'm talking to here, think about the idea that the universe brought us to this point with this planet, regardless of how it was created or how many other planets there are or our place in the universe? The idea that there can be such a wide variety of life on Earth, so many different organisms, that while we think they struggle to survive, they really seem to flourish, no matter what the conditions might be. Conditions could be horrific and they'll still flourish by the vents on the seafloor and await a new time to bloom. So we know that life isn't just some, tentative thing. It wants to exist. So the question is, how did evolution bring us to this point where there are so many connections in so many different parts of the plant kingdom? And on top of that, we have these underlying patterns, which what they call emergence, which is where more than one creature will develop the same traits, such as 2 eyes or 2 legs, that things seem to emerge on their own in completely unrelated areas where they didn't evolve from one another, where there's no genetic connection. But on top of that, we have these other patterns, such as the phi, or the Fibonacci sequence, or we have 2 different phi ratios, the golden mean, if you will, or the golden ratio, which is seen in sunflowers and in various shells. And it's the perfect spiral, if you will, that seems to arise over and over, which hints at an underlying mathematical concept, which many mathematicians believe that math is the universe and describes the universe. And in so many ways it does. And math is so elegant and beautiful to describe the universe, it's very difficult for us to separate it from whether it's a human invention, whether math is a creation or a discovery, and that is still up for debate, and there's no real consensus on that. Mathematics, regardless of what they are, seem to impose that there is a mechanism to create like from like, and patterns and similarities in nature. So I guess my big question here is, looking at everything, the more you learn about the connections in nature, the harder it is to say, well, this is all by chance. Is that a worthy reason to believe that the universe is conscious? In other words, can the very patterns that we see around us and just the amazing connection between nature, does that in itself show that the universe is a mind? And it's hard to separate it from the human mind, because I'm not talking about something that thinks the way we do. Our consciousness is different from an anthill. An anthill has its own consciousness. It operates on a level we don't understand through chemical signals, but nonetheless it's conscious. It can't exist with a single ant. Can we really ever prove or disprove that the universe is conscious? But rather, do you think, as other thinkers, individuals, that the universe... Do you have a better way to explain what I'm trying to convey, I guess? And would you agree that there are some interesting patterns that are so hard to define that I'm at a loss for words? So I'm just going to leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts on this ramble, because I'm curious. I'll give you this. I've never been religious. I wasn't raised religious. and I had no intention to join a religion, but I grew up with some Christian friends, and I watched them, have their cognitive dissonance and saying, I don't believe this, but I have to go to church. And most people eventually left. I had one friend that was a Mormon, and I saw the way his family, when I stayed over there, everybody's got their own interesting ways to live. And I have nothing against religions themselves, but I hear a lot of stories about aging scientists who come up with these basic late life philosophies, what a lot of people would call a breakdown, I guess, but not basically coming to the conclusion that the universe must be aware, must be conscious. In other words, they define it as God must exist, but then people confuse God with saying, well, you believe in the Bible, you must believe this is true, and they instantly tie the word God into religion. So now we're trying to dress it up in other words, spirituality and the all and the divine and the great master and the one and the great spirit. I believe that there are many levels of consciousness, which we might call like represented within, like, say, just like a solar system is within a galaxy, within a multi-galaxies. And I don't know, maybe it's just too big for us to even talk about. I'll just leave it there. Talk to y'all later. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe, and if you need any info, it's in the description. Peace.